Morning.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, my name is Pod, and this is my 1949 Harley Davidson FL Panhead. This bike started life probably about 7 or 8 years ago. It was not a complete bike. This bike was actually built part by part from the ground up. Seeing that as I'm just a regular old guy with a regular old job, buying an old classic like this seems to take a big hit on my pocketbook, so I decided to do the part by part route. It worked out great. Nothing really broke the bank until I added up all the receipts at the end. Then I found out that I spent just as much on this as I would if I bought a whole bike altogether. The idea in the beginning for this bike, as I was collecting parts for it and stuff, was to build the baddest chopper I could. It was going to be an easy rider chopper, this and that, and it took me probably about 6 years total for collecting and building. During that time, there's a lot of downtime, right? So you sit in your garage, you stare at things, you daydream, you wonder, what if this, what if that? You start getting bored of things before you've even ridden it and your mind changes. So now this is the result of that. It kind of built itself. It told me what it wanted, and this is kind of what happened. It turned into a somewhat period correct bobber type of bike instead of that bad chopper I was going to build. And I like it just fine. It's a fantastic bike. A lot of cool stuff on here. Started with the motor, 1949 FL motor. I found online from a guy in Arizona, which was kind of nice because it was my home state. I'm from Phoenix originally. So I saved up the money, bought the motor. The next thing was bought the frame. Looked around, found a frame at a swap meet. And it's also a 1949 frame as well. It's got all the hallmarks and everything for 49. Predominantly the horn mounts and stuff there make it the 49 and other little nuances. Then I started looking around for transmissions and such, and I came up with this, I think it's a 1964 transmission, so it's the last year before the Electroglide. It works just fine with this bike. By the time this video comes out, or sometime this winter, I will be replacing this 64 transmission with the 49 that goes with the bike, so we'll have a complete 49 then. Yeah. From there, I started putting everything together, figuring out what I wanted, and then came the fork. So the fork is a 1930 to 36 Harley Davidson VL fork, front springer, also commonly known as the I-beam springer. It's got the really cool look that I always liked, so that's what I wanted to do with it. The cool thing about it is an uncut VL springer. The stem is 1 1/8 inches, which is 1/8 inch bigger than your standard big twin stems. So that was kind of an issue trying to get this to fit without actually cutting it, because I wanted to leave it uncut. That way if I ever want to sell it to somebody who wants to use it for the proper project, or if I want to put it on the proper project someday, I'll be able to do that. And it's just untouched. It's not cut or anything like that. I got these neck cups and bearings conversion that I found from a company who actually makes those to adapt to the frame. It came in just in time because I had drawn out plans to manufacture my own cups to make it fit on my lathe at home. I was almost ready to start work, and I just stumbled across these guys with the cups, and I was like, $70, take my money. Save me an afternoon of losing more hair and manufacturing my own cup. And it works out perfect, so it just fits right on there and adapts to the big twin frame just fine. And it adds a nice little look to it. I had to kind of modify these spacers here because this fork is actually a 1/2 inch narrower than the standard big twin springer fork. Everything as I bought it as a poor man's panhead, because it all needed a little work, right? Buy it at the bargain price and do a little work myself, and hopefully come up with a bike that was relatively cheap. No. It's the same price as it would be if I bought just the whole bike altogether, and in fact I'd get a fender with it and the rest of the bike with it. So this is kind of where I ended up stopping, which was the bobber style. So everything on this bike's been rebuilt. The motor was rebuilt by the Baisleys over here in Portland. They did a fantastic job, Dan and Ryan Baisley. We took it apart in about 45 minutes and went through all the parts while talking and chit-chatting and stuff. This is good, this is bad, we can use this, this tells a story about something, its life that it had. So we went through it, and then it was about, I think, another year of work and waiting and work for them to blueprint the motor. So it's been blueprinted. It's back to better than new condition than when it came off the factory floor back in 48. What would be 48, the previous year of 49. And it came out awesome. Jeff over at American Classics in Dundee had kind of done a once over on it just to make sure. I had a main bearing that was in there. It was kind of bad. And now the fluids generally stay in the transmission where they're supposed to. And it works a lot better now. So that was gone through, the motor was gone through, frame was refurbished by myself. We got a rear fender here from a newer Panhead that I actually cut and opened up to fit an 18-inch wheel in the back. And I trimmed it up. You'll notice that it shows a little bit more of the wheel. The rear wheel is an 18-inch sun rim laced to a Panhead knucklehead star hub. And then the front wheel is the same setup, except it's a 21-inch wheel laced to a Panhead knucklehead star hub. Back to the fork, so we got the VL 1930 to 36 VL fork. My risers for the handlebars will be Schwinn goosenecks from Schwinn Beach Cruiser. Yeah, so then these are 7/8 bars with little shims in here with a Triumph pre-unit bend on these. So I got my British touch on my American bike here. I love British bikes as well. That's my British influence there on that. Just regular old grips. Made a little mount here that connects to where the damping mechanism would go for this fork to mount my headlight. And this is a Duray headlight from a tractor. Yeah, and it's got a nice glass lens in here, and I just like the shape, the way it looks, and it just, I don't know, it was about 50 bucks or something off a tractor, and sure, why not? Yeah. The seat and pee pad are butt seats from the fella, Mr. Butts up there in Canada. He makes all kinds of seats and pads and king and queen seats, so this is kind of what I came up with here. There's chopper-esque things going on, like the seat and the wheels would be your typical 18-inch and 21-inch chopper wheels. However, you'll notice it's not a chopper, it's more of a bobber, so we've got the bob fender like they would do back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I painted the bike blue. Chelsea blue is what we call it, is the wife picked out the color. I painted the bike myself in a paint booth. It's a lacquer paint, just like they would use back in the day, so there's none of the candies, none of the crazy fancy paint. So over time, it should look like an old bike at some point in time. The only problem is I don't let it sit out in the weather and stuff like that. I baby it and take care of it, and it stays close by in the garage, nice and cozy all winter long. We get out and ride it when we can, and then all summer long it's a go. Whenever it's dry, actually, we ride it. It's a lot of work to ride. I've got the mechanical brake, and I've got the really good front brake. It's almost non-existent. The disappearing front brake. So we don't have a front brake on there. This would be another typical thing you would see on a chopper. So I took away the front brake. It's a lot of work in the fact that it's a jockey shift, foot clutch, hand shift. So you really need to know where neutral is when you need to stop. Because you got to put a foot down, 1 foot here, 1 foot here, and when you stop, you got to find neutral so you can put this foot down, and one of them has to go down, and hopefully you're not on a hill. So when you come around to this side over here, the drive side, you'll notice the foot clutch hand shift. I've got a skateboard wheel on here. My skateboard heritage, my lifelong affair with skateboards and motorcycles together in one. I also run an open belt primary drive. I like the look of it. I like the simplicity. Also, when I need to go in and make adjustments. In the beginning, there was a lot of adjustments, working out all the bugs and everything. It was very simple just to take a wrench and do it, instead of taking everything off and all this and that. The idea for this bike is to be as simple as possible. So if I needed to take a part off, I didn't need to take half the bike apart just to get the rear wheel off or anything like that. It's my creation. It's what I think the 1949 Panhead should look like in this model. Of course, if I had a different 1949 Panhead, I would hope that it was nice and stock and untouched. But this is what I came up with. This is a part-by-part ground-up build. So we just added a whole nother bike to the population. We brought one back to life, and here it is. So looking back here at our taillight, so this is a Repop Crocker taillight. It looks pretty cool. It kind of matches the chrome, puts a little bit of chrome here and there. It's got a little jewel for the lens, but then it also holds my custom 1949 Pan license plate to let the world know what I'm riding here. Of course, most people don't ever see that. They always ask anyway. The gas tanks, the petrol tanks here, would be a lowbrow WX split tank, which is a smaller version. It's got the same shape as an original Panhead, but they're a lot smaller. And the idea with using these would be that I didn't have to cut any of the tabs off. Even though I'm a welder fabricator by trade, and I can put that stuff back on, I think it's just important to not cut any of that off if you don't have to. That way, at some point in time throughout my life, if I ever wanted to, I can put this all back to stock and build it into stock if I want. We'd have another stocker on the road because I didn't chop anything off. These are both gasoline. It's about a gallon on each side. So about 2 gallons. I think they say 2.2, but there's always a little something that stays in there. Usually after about 80 miles, by that time I'm ready to get off of this thing and put some gas in it and take a walk and just get off of it. If you notice, it's a rigid, so it is kind of bumpy. There's my suspension there, and then here's my other suspension here. With Portland roads, it can be a challenge. Aside from riding and shifting and braking and looking out for cars, you also need to look around for holes in the road, which we have lots of here. And this right here will let you know that you hit a hole in the road. So yeah, overall the bike has been absolutely fantastic to ride. I started it 3-4 years ago for the first time in the winter, December. Rode it around. I've been riding around ever since. It's been an absolute blast. I've ridden it all over Oregon, out to the coast, out in eastern Oregon, southern Oregon, and it's everything I wanted it to be and then some. I still have to pinch myself, you know, it's real. I've made this myself. I put this together. This is all me with a little help from people building a couple things for me. Otherwise, it's all me. It's awesome to ride. It's a pleasure to ride. And I'm hoping that it sticks around for quite some time. And it's the 1949 Panhead FL is everything I built her to be. Built to ride. We're out of here. Have a great day, Mike.
You too. Thanks very much for watching, guys. This has been another tale from the cul-de-sac. Please remember to subscribe and click the little bell and you'll get a notice whenever I release a new video, usually every Sunday morning and sometimes during the week.
Nice. So my name's Pod, and this is my, whoops.
Oh shit. Cut.
Bloopers.
It's all good.
Actually,
Oh, let's tuck
put
that
this
in
on
as
the
well.
inside. There we go.
Well, that wasn't the best.